up to date for in my fights. I'd fought a lot of fights getting up to UFC. Actually, when I first moved out of my dad's house, I fought like 5 times a month just because I didn't want to go back and ask him for money. So I had some big fights up until I got in the UFC, got my shot in the UFC. So I got called by Joe. Actually, Dana White called my manager at the time, and he offered me to either fight in the Tough Show, where that was going to air, it was going to start in like a year, or make my UFC debut. And I didn't think that show was going to do anything, so I just just went ahead and made my UFC debut. I think I made like 5-5, something really sad. But anyways, I went and fought in the UFC, and it was a really good because the guy I fought, Joe Dirksen, a lot of people don't remember who he was, but because Joe was really tough. Joe got offered to fight in the UFC before, like after he won the Super Bowl tournament, and he turned him down because he didn't think he was ready. So he turned him down, and then was ready, and then he fought. He was ranked number 3 in the world, which is huge. And then I mean, I was relatively unknown, and so I was actually like a 10-1 dog. So going there and having a fight because in the most scary thing about that, because I don't know if you know what a swing bout is on the card. It's where they put a fight in whenever they can. So if there's room on the undercard, they'll put it there. If there's room on the main card, which is rare, they'll put it there. But even sometimes they'll put it after the main event, so after there's nobody even there. But for this time, it was Chuck Liddell fought Vernon White, and then Randy Couture was fighting Vitor Belfort in the main event, and I fought right before Randy. So it was really nerve wracking. So I was like warming up the entire time, didn't know I was gonna fight. And this guy Burt Watson, he was the coordinator for the UFC back then, and he got me. I was like going on right before the main event, and it was really really scary. It was sold out, and it was sold out at the MGM Grand, and I knew Joe, and he was a tough guy, but I went out there and had a good performance, and finished a real tough fighter, and that was I can still feel, I can still smell the arena, I can still feel certain small things that happened throughout that week and that night that will stay with me for the rest of my life. It was a real important fight in my career and my life. If I wanted to, stay the course and do this for a living, and I because at that time they didn't sign people to multi-fight deals. You had a contract for one fight, and if you won, you got a contract for more fights. So if you lost, you were gone because they said one Joe must go, and I was just like, oh God. So that was even more nerve wracking. The reason why they didn't do that was because they signed Trey Teligman to a 8-fight contract, which they wanted to get rid of him after one, and they had to pay him for all 8 fights, and so that's the way they did things. That like they don't do it now, but they did back then. So, but I had a good fight. I finished him in the second round, and finished him in a good way. And I remember after the fight, the press conference Dan held, he said my name, that I proved I belonged there, which it was all good. I was only 20 years old. It was a really really good feeling. So I've always dreamed to be in the UFC, and in my corner I just had my 2 trainers, Trevor and Todd Lally, which they ended up being good trainers, training guys like Ryan Bader and Jamie Varner. They've had a lot of good fighters, but I was their first guy to make it there. And in his corner, he had all Team Militich, which later on ended up being the camp I went to. But I've been watching them my entire career. So seeing Jeremy Horn, seeing Matt Hughes, seeing Pat Militich, seeing Tim Sylvia, they're all in his corner. I was like, oh God, it was a scary thing. And then, but I just had to remember I'm fighting him, not them. But it was a good thing. It was a really really good thing. I can remember landing, the big shot that set the series of ones off. When because he actually tapped out from strikes, which is very rare when you get the highest level of the sport. People usually just will cover up and the referee will stop it. I broke his nose, and I first cut him. I remember he looked at his blood, which was weird, really weird to me. I've never seen that before. Because I do this thing where I fake back, like I'm gonna break guard or go for an ankle lock, and I come with an elbow or a big punch, and I hit him right on the forehead with it, just split his wig, and he's just like, and it was just like, and then it's like, and Joe at that time I think Joe had like 40 fights, I had like 30 fights or something like that, but he did not react well to his own blood, and then he kind of covered up, and I just kept hammering him. And then I remember he had his hands up like that, and I threw an up elbow that went and crushed his nose, and and he just rolled over and tapped out, and I was like, what the fuck, whoa! And then they stopped it, and I threw a mouthpiece out in the crowd, and just I was so excited. There's words can't describe that. Next to my kids being born and getting married, there's not too many feelings like that.
How much did you get paid for that fight?
$10,000. I got paid 5 and 5 for that fight, and at the time, I remember I had like 3 sponsors that probably came out to about maybe $10,000. So I made a total of $20,000 for that fight, which at the time to me was a lot of money, because the most I ever made at that point was I fought in Holland for like 5,000 euros, and which is like 6,000 US. But so it was a lot of money, and to me, and I was a young kid, and it was a good kickoff point to my career, and right then people, speculated I was going to be a world champion and this and that. I didn't realize the mental battles and the things I was going to have to overcome throughout my career.